Hello, everybody. All right. And we are live. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where in the world you are. I'm in the Caribbean. I'm in the Bahamas, actually. So it's just about 10:30 in the morning here. So I'm just starting my day. And I thought that I would do another spontaneous, totally unplanned live Q&A session for you guys. So I'm here to help answer any business English questions you might have, any general English questions you might have. Just put them in the chat, and I will do my best to answer them. But I am here for you guys. I'm here to help. So let's have a little fun this morning. Before we get started, I wanted to give you guys an update. I'm not sure if everybody knows, but I have a subscription on my Instagram account right now. So that means that every Monday I post an advanced business English lesson exclusive just for subscribers. So I go into a little bit more detail in those lessons than I do in my general Instagram content. So feel free to check it out if you're interested. I just give a little more good language work, language for meetings, present to Excel. So the same as my YouTube channel, and click the subscribe button. But just know that you have to do that on a mobile device. So you can't do that from your laptop. You'll only see the subscribe button if you do that from your phone. So just wanted to mention that. All right. Hey, Dave. Hey, guys. Wow. Alessandro. Hello. Hey, good to see you guys. All right. So just throw any questions that you have, just put them in the chat. I'll be super, super happy to answer them. But before you guys do that, while you're thinking about some things that you want to ask, I'm going to start with some questions that people have sent me, on Instagram, in YouTube comments, via email, so we can just kind of get the conversation started that way. The first thing, I get this question a lot, and I will say native speakers get this wrong a lot too. I'll put this here in the chat. This is the difference between these two words here, affect versus effect. Yeah, it's a super common mistake, and it's really easy to confuse these two words. But the difference here, and I'm going to give you a trick on how to remember the difference. So affect with an A, that's a verb. That's a verb. So to affect something means to have an influence on something or to act on something to cause change, to affect something. So just remember A stands for action. It's a verb. It's an easy way to remember. An effect with an E, that is a noun. That's a noun. And we say an effect with an E, usually it means it's the end result of something. There's something that's happened, and the result of that is the effect with an E. So think A for action, E for end result, verb, noun. I'll give you a couple of examples. So when we use this as a verb, you could maybe say something like, a heavy workload will negatively affect the team. A heavy workload will negatively affect the team. It's going to negatively influence the team. It's a verb. Now with a noun, we could say it like this, for example. A heavy workload will have a negative effect with an E on the team. Heavy workload will have a negative effect on the team. So that's the difference. Hope that's clear. Okay, guys. All right. So Dave is asking, what are we going to be talking about today? Well, Dave, that's up to you guys. So this is a live Q&A. So you can ask, put any questions that you have, either just about business English conversation today. All right. Let's see what other. Okay. So let's start with this question. How to speak English fluently without translating in the mind? That's a great question. And it's a really common one too. And I don't know if you guys are going to like this answer, but the answer is there's really no magic solution. There's really no easy way. You just have to practice. You have to practice. You have to study. And I always say that learning a language, learning English, it's not really so much even about learning or about knowing the language. It's about doing it. It's about experiencing the language. It's about living the language. So the more you get out there and start having English conversations, ideally with native speakers, The more you do that, the less you'll be translating in your mind and the more second nature it will become. You can also do things like the shadowing technique, which I always recommend. That's when you listen to a native speaker, either an audio clip, a podcast, a YouTube video, a Netflix show, and you hit pause after every sentence that you hear and you repeat what the speaker said exactly as they said it. So you're imitating the language, the rhythm of the language, the melody of the language, pronunciation. You should also be reading a lot of English as well. You have to be News articles are ideal because news articles are always written with really good grammar, ideally perfect grammar. And it's also a good way to expand your vocabulary. So I would say try those three things. So really have conversations with native speakers however you can. Do the shadowing technique, immerse yourself in a lot of real world English content, and do a lot of reading too, ideally with news articles. So hope that helps. Those three things have helped me as I've learned other languages too. So I always recommend them for people learning English. Okay, all right. Let's see. What other questions do we have here? Which words and sentences we can use instead of please advise something in emails to be more creative. Yeah, so I don't really like the words please advise in emails. I think that's a little old fashioned and it's a little outdated. And it also has kind of like a passive aggressive tone as well. So I just ask the question, just whatever you want to ask the person, just put it in a question form. Or you could say, what do you suggest? What do you suggest? Or what do you think? And another thing I'll say to that is you're asking, how to be more creative. In business communication, sometimes you don't always have to be so creative. It's more important just to be clear. It's more important to be clear and direct with what you want to say. So just keep that in mind too. Okay, what other questions do you guys have? Let's see. I'm checking the chat. Well, there's a lot of people here. Wow, from all over the world, Iraq, Azerbaijan. Wow, excelente. Okay, all right, guys. So I'm going to go to another question that I get pretty often. You may have seen this on Instagram recently. It's other ways to ask somebody how they're doing, other ways to ask the question, how are you? I think a lot of times, we say that a lot. How are you? How are you? And that's totally fine. There's nothing wrong with asking somebody, how are you? Of course. But there are so many other ways that you can ask somebody that, and just kind of level up your vocabulary a little bit and expand the language that you're using. Does anybody have any suggestions on some other ways that we can say, how are you? What are some other ways? And you put them in the chat. I'll start with one idea. So this is maybe a little, I guess you could use it in informal and formal situations, but it's, how have you been? How have you been? You'll hear us Americans say that all the time. Have you been? It means, how are you? How have things been going for you recently? How have you been? Yep. A little more informal, you'll hear us say, what's new? What's new? So that's a little more informal. I wouldn't say that to the CEO of a company, for example. I would say that more to my peers at work, people that I have good, close working relationships with. Another thing you'll hear us say, how is everything? How's everything? We usually contract the words how and is to house. How's everything? And sometimes we'll add a couple of words to that. How's everything on your end? 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 Just means, how are you? How are you doing? Yep. And I think, how's everything on your end? That's probably more of a question we would ask in a work setting, in a business context, in a professional setting. We wouldn't really, I don't think I would say that to a friend or a family member. It's more of a work situation there. How's it going? Very good. Absolutely. Yep. How's it going? That's more, a little more informal. So again, you can say that at work for sure, but say it to more your kind of your closer friends at work, people on your team, not somebody super senior. Let's see. How are you doing? I see that. Absolutely. That is a very, very good thing. Excellent. Okay, guys. Yeah, I think that we have that all covered. I'm just checking to see what other questions we have here in the chat. Oh, in the show Friends, there was an episode with a guy named Russ. What's the difference in pronunciation between Ross and Russ? Ah, excellent. Yeah, those are almost the same name, aren't they? They sound almost the same. But did you hear when I said both of those names, did you hear the difference in pronunciation? So with the O, it's Ross, Ross. And with the U, it's Russ, Russ. It's an That's a very American English sound. So it kind of helps if you take the lower part of your jaw and kind of push it out. Do you see how my bottom teeth are kind of moving out when I say that? Russ, Russ. Now I'm exaggerating, of course, but that's the general idea. So we have Ross. See how my lips are very open when I make that ah sound? Ross. And my mouth is very relaxed as well. Ross, Russ. Good. All right. Okay, let's see. Somebody's asking in the business environment how we can say thanks when our company celebrated our birthday. I think just saying thanks is perfectly fine. Thanks, thank you. You could say, thank you so much. I really appreciate the effort. I really appreciate it, or I really appreciate the effort. I'm putting all these suggestions in the chat, by the way, you guys. Hopefully you can see that. I really appreciate the effort. And I think that's it. Just as simple as that. Thank you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. That was so kind of you all. Yep. So keep it simple. Thank you. I appreciate it. That was so kind of you. Very good. Okay. Somebody else is asking, Muhammad is asking, then other pronunciation question. Okay. How do you connect the word that after says? I'm not 100% sure what you mean. Connect the word that after says that, says that. I'm not sure. See, if you can clarify your question, that would be excellent. All right, guys, I am just scrolling here through the chat to make sure that I haven't missed anything. Can you give us some tips for us when reading academic readings? Tell me what you mean exactly. I'm not 100% sure what you mean. So academic readings are pretty complex. They're pretty complicated. I mean, there's always a very high level of vocabulary there. So, you may need to be looking up words more often, but clarify your question and I'll see if I can help. Okay. Oh, hey, Rodrigo. Hey, welcome, welcome. Glad to have you here. All right, let's go through some more questions that I commonly get that I have noted here. So we just talked about some other ways, some more creative, more native speaker ways to ask the question, how are you? Now, how about responding to that question? What are some better ways, some more advanced ways that we can respond to how are you instead of just good? Because even native speakers do that a lot, hey, how are you? Good. How are you? Good. That's pretty common. But what are some other ways that we can answer that question? Some more interesting ways besides just good. Anybody have any ideas? Put them in the chat. Well, I will give you one hint here. All good here. All good here. Yep. So a little longer than just answering with good. All good here. Hey, Maria, how are you? All good here. You'll also hear us say this one, can't complain. Have you guys heard that? Can't complain. Sometimes we even put those two together. All good here, can't complain. Yep. This is another one that we use at work very often. Staying busy. Staying busy. Probably something good to say at work. Shows, I think we say that because, we want to show that we're being productive and we're working really hard. We have a lot to do. Maybe we're justifying our salaries a little bit. So staying busy. I'm all right. Yep. That's a great one. Totally. Very, very good. Rodrigo says, I'm good. Yep. All is well here. Yeah. All is well here. That's a little more formal. All is well here is perfectly fine. Good. I'm all right. Excellent. Jimmy says that he always responds with the word excellent. I love that. That's good positive energy, right? Good, good, good. Yeah, been swamped with work. Yeah. Does anybody know what the meaning of the word swamped is? It's a very high level, advanced vocab word. Been swamped with work. It means that you're very busy with work. I'm going to put that in the chat. That's a good word to know. Thanks, Rodrigo. Swamped equals very busy, extremely busy. I'm swamped also just means I'm very busy. I'm swamped. Good. Yep. Also used very often in a work context. Yep. No things new, the usual. I love that. I say that a lot. I'm just going to make a slight correction there. Instead of no things new, we're going to say nothing new. Nothing new. So nothing new, the usual. Perfect. That's a great response. I really like that. I'm doing well. Yeah, that's perfectly fine to answer that way. Very busy. Oh, same old, same old. Miso says same old, same old. That's great. I love that. We say that all the time. That's very natural expression. The usual, same old, same old. Very good. Yeah, Rodrigo, just the same old, same old. Exactly. Okay, all right. Another question here. Godwin is asking, can you tell me how to apologize in an email where we miss to send attachment? Yep. Yeah. So that happens to all of us. I do that too. It's a natural thing. All you have to do is just reply and then just say something like, apologies. Apologies. The document is now attached. Something like that. Very simple. Apologies. The document is now attached. Or apologies. The document wasn't attached in the last email. You'll find it here. So that's just a little longer. So two options, kind of a shorter, quicker one, and then a longer option maybe for, a more formal situation. Good, good, good. Okay. All right, guys. What other questions do you have? Okay, somebody's asking, please go over on writing recommendations, for example, in LinkedIn. So this is a great question. Maybe I can consider doing this a more in-depth, exclusive subscriber lesson on my Instagram, because this is more complex and it really depends on the person that you're recommending. It just depends on the situation. So I am going to save that. That's a great idea. And I'm going to take that with me and think about putting some content together for subscribers on Instagram. Yep. So not something I can really answer here today. All right, guys. Okay. I think I've got everybody's questions thus far. Keep them coming. Keep putting them in the chat. In the meantime, let's do a little quiz here on some business English acronyms that are very common that you're going to see every day. So what's an acronym? What's an acronym? So an acronym is kind of a shortcut, you can say. So it's where, we have a few words, a phrase of something, and we're just taking the first letter of each of those words. We're calling that's an acronym. So for example, to be determined, something we say all the time at work, to be determined, that's actually the acronym is TBD. TBD. So we're just taking the first letter of each word. That's the acronym for to be determined. So I think some other ones. We'll do a little quiz here. WFH. WFH. What does that stand for? Does anybody know? Especially in this day and age, since the pandemic, you'll see that all the time. Yep, Rodrigo's giving us another one, COB, close of business. Absolutely. Very, very common. Yep. End of day. Yep. Absolutely. Yes. So the WFH acronym stands for working from home. Working from home. Here, working from home. Yeah, exactly, Miso. Very good. Working from home. So, and I will say this acronym though, we usually just use this one in writing. I've never heard anybody use it speaking. You might see it in emails, for example, like, I'll be WFH tomorrow, for example. I'll be working from home tomorrow. Yep. And Ali Reza, you said 143. I'm not sure what you mean by 143. Let me know if that's in relation to a question. Let's see. Yeah, ASAP, Rodrigo. Absolutely. Yeah. What does ASAP stand for? And we use this acronym definitely outside of business contexts too. You use it, in your personal life. That's very, very common. Yes, exactly. As soon as possible. Good, guys. Very, very good. Okay. What else do we have here in the chat? If you received an email for you and other people, how can you ask them to respond? Jimmy, can you clarify what you mean? If you received an email for you and other people, how can you ask them to respond? I'm not 100% sure what you mean by that. Just clarify what your question is in the chat and we'll come back to that. Najat, thank you. Yeah, I'm so happy to hear that you love my lessons. I love giving them, so they will keep coming. FYI, for your information, that's another one. Yep, very, very good. BR, best regards. Yeah, I think that's what you mean. BR is best regards. That's an email sign off. Best regards. That's what we put right before we sign our name, right before we end an email. And BR is very, a little more informal. So if you need to write a formal email to somebody, if it's a more formal situation, write the full words, best with a capital B, best regards, and then a comma, and then your name. But if it's more informal, like I said, a coworker that you have a close working relationship with, then BR is totally fine. Very good. Yes, ETA. ETA stands for, anybody know? Let's see who can beat me by putting it in the chat. ETA is estimated time of, very good. Yeah, estimated time of arrival. Very good. So a lot of times at work, when we, for example, have to talk about, maybe when, let's say, a shipment is coming or a delivery is coming, for example, we might say, what's the ETA? What's the ETA on that? What's the ETA on that? Yeah. What's the estimated time of arrival? When can we expect for that to come? Let's see. Yeah. FYA for your action. Yep. Don't get that confused with FYI for your information, but FYA for your action. Very good. Yeah. TBC, to be in MISO. I'm just going to make a slight correction there. Instead of to be confirm, it's to be confirmed with an ED at the end. Confirmed. Very, very good. Yes. Okay. FYR for your reference. Yes. Very good. Okay. All right. So, Jimmy, thank you for clarifying your question. You're now saying the email includes several people and you, but you know the other people need to respond, not you. Yep. Okay. I get you now. So, my first question would be, do you need to reply anything? Do you need to say anything in response? Maybe not. If you're not the person who needs to respond and the other people are the ones who need to respond, you can just allow some time and allow them to respond, first. If you don't hear anything, if it's, radio silence, if these people are not responding, sometimes what I've done in my jobs is I'll just ask them privately. I'll send them a Slack message, or maybe I'll send them a text, or pick up the phone and call and say, hey, did you see that email from, John or whoever it was? Do you think you could, answer the question? Maybe they just missed it. So that's usually what I do. I don't usually send a response back. So that's what I would suggest. Just go to the person who should respond and ask them to do that. Okay. Dave, you are so welcome. I am happy to be here. I'm glad you are here too. Great. Let's see. What is PS? I see that in some of the emails. Yeah, so that's an interesting question. This PS thing. So I think the PS stands for postscript, and it's kind of an old-fashioned thing that people have been doing for probably hundreds of years. And it's kind of you write your message and then you sign your name, and then a PS is kind of an afterthought, so to speak. It's kind of like a question that it's an afterthought, really. I don't recommend using that in business communication. Everything that you want to say in your email should be before your sign off, it should be before your name. PS, I don't think it's very professional. I think it's kind of an old, outdated thing that's really used more in personal communication. So I would just suggest don't use that in your work emails. Just don't use it. Any question, anything that you need to say in your email should be before you sign off. Yeah. Good questions, you guys. Okay, there's a lot here in this chat, which is awesome. I'm just taking some time to scroll through here. SOV, schedule of values. Okay, that's new for me, Rodrigo. I did not know that one. LOB, line of business. Yep. Thanksgiving. I'm not really sure what you want to ask about Thanksgiving. So if you can clarify your comment there, that would be great. Let's see. Explain the phrase slate, please. Slate, please. I'm not familiar with that phrase or what exactly you mean. So if you could clarify, that would be great. Yep. How to be fluent. That's an excellent question. I actually just published a video a few weeks ago about my top 5 tips on how to really become fluent, especially in business English, but it'll help you with general English as well. So go check out that video. It's just called 5 Habits to Become Fluent in Business English. I'll just give you a couple of highlights here. I mentioned some at the beginning of the stream. But research actually shows that the most effective way to develop your language skills is by conversation, and ideally with native speakers. Because when you're having a conversation with somebody, you're bringing together all of those linguistic elements. You're bringing together grammar, pronunciation. So as much as you can, practice your English, practice speaking and listening, ideally with native speakers. And there's a lot of ways that you can do that. I mean, with technology now, we have so many tools that we can leverage, and a lot of them are really cost effective. You can practice with native speakers for free on things like there's Lang Club. I'll put this here in the chat. Lang Club. I believe Hello Talk and Tandem are also apps where you can connect with native speakers. And if anybody has tried any of those things, let me know. But there's also Cambly. Cambly is pretty cost effective where it's one-on-one conversation practice with native English speakers, native English tutors. So that would be my number one tip is to just practice speaking as much as you can. Yeah. Okay. All right. What else? Oh, wow. Dave, you have a lot of acronyms for us here. BTW, TY, TBH. Wow. I'll let everybody read this message. But yeah, those are lots of really good acronyms that we use all the time. Yep. Excellent. Godwin is asking, can you make more videos on business email writing with business email phrases? Yes, that is good. That's good feedback. Yep, I will absolutely do that. And also, too, Godwin, I include a lot of that business email writing, best practices, and tips and tricks in my subscriber content on Instagram. So feel free to go to my Instagram account and check that out because I do post a lot of those exclusive lessons devoted to business English because I know how important of a topic it is. So feel free to check that out as well. Let's see. Oh, this is a great question. How to begin an email in case we don't know the receiver's name? Yeah, very good question. Yep. So it depends on the situation. You're saying dear all. That's completely appropriate if you're talking, if you know that it's more than one person. So if you're just sending it to one person and you don't know their name, I wouldn't say that. Just use dear all if it's more than one person, two or more people. So yeah, dear all is totally fine. I also like using the word team in these kinds of situations. So, for example, hello, customer service team. Maybe if you have to send an email to, if it's a customer service situation and you need help, something like that. You can also, in very, very formal situations, the tried and true way that we address this is to whom it may concern. To whom it may concern. So, I mean, that's super formal. Like if you have to write something to, I don't know, the government, for example, in a very formal situation, you can say that. Yep. Less formally, hi team. Like maybe if you're emailing a company or something, like, I'm going to use Delta Airlines as an example. You could say, hi, Delta team. Good morning, Delta team. Hello, Delta team. Team is always a nice word. Yeah. You're addressing a group of people in a professional way, even though you don't know their name. Very, very good. Okay. Let's see. All right. We have people from Colombia. Excellent. Welcome, welcome. Rodrigo is asking, are those tools free of charge? Are you asking about the apps that I listed there, Rodrigo? If so, I believe that most of them are. Lang Club was free. I'm not sure if it's changed. And I believe that Hello Talk and Tandem are free as well. Cambly is not free. There's a charge for Cambly, but I found the Cambly pricing to be pretty affordable. So go ahead and check that out too. Okay. So, Miso, to be fluent, we have to speak a lot. But what if you are an introvert or you don't have someone to talk with? So, first of all, if you don't have anyone to talk with, go and check out those tools, those apps that I just listed earlier in the chat, because then you can connect with people, and pretty easily. And I believe most of them are free. But if you're an introvert and you're a little shy and maybe you're a little hesitant to talk to people, I think reading out loud is a fabulous way to help with your fluency. So you can kind of, talk to yourself. So find a news article, find a book, just something that you can read, and don't just read it in your head, but speak the words out loud. And that's going to get you just more comfortable and more confident producing the English language. And it's good to expand your vocabulary as well. So you're kind of practicing speaking that way. But I do always recommend, because it is super effective, as much as you can, you do need to try to talk to other people as well. So, maybe challenge yourself a little bit, get out of your comfort zone. It'll be really effective. Okay. Oh, we have somebody from Paris. Beautiful, beautiful. Okay, excellent. All right, guys. Well, I think we're kind of coming to the end of our session today. It's about 11 a.m. here in the Bahamas. So I'm going to let you all go and I'm going to get started on my day. But it was so lovely chatting with you guys and, getting to hang out with you guys a little bit. So thank you so much for coming. I'll be doing more of these. So just be on the lookout. So, all right, guys, until next time, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your Sundays. Take care.